Hi everyone, my name is Tim. I'm currently studying software development on St. Lucas in Eindhoven, and this is my English assignment that I had to make for my school about my ambition project. Now, the ambition project was made for the students to be able to challenge themselves and step out of their comfort zone and just to try something new. So I'm gonna take you guys along with my process on how I made a simple mobile game. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy and find this video informative. Maybe it will motivate you to make your own little game. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. So the first challenge for me was actually to come up with an idea. I had all these thoughts and crazy concepts, but I really just settled down on this really simple thing. I wanted to make a mobile game. Everyone has a phone nowadays, but I've never even remotely tried to make something like that in the past before. I thought it would broaden my skills and widen my vision on making video games. I wanted to keep the concept simple, intuitive, and fun to play. I really didn't want to waste too much time on the mechanics of the game so that I can focus on optimizing it and making it run smoothly on my phone. So here you can see the first sketch that I've made, which basically you are a sphere and you can control the sphere by tapping on any point on the screen and the sphere would shoot towards your finger. At first I thought it would be fun to maybe make like a velocity indicator that goes up and down, uncontrollable by the player, but I later figured out that that was not the case, that it wasn't as fun as it should be, so I completely removed that idea. I also wanted to add some coins and collectibles for the player so that it has a goal in the game, else you're just shooting a ball endlessly without a purpose. I wanted to make a little shop so that the player can collect certain items, spend them in the shop for skins or whatever, maybe some levels. I really hadn't settled down on that yet. So with the concept of the game coming to form, I had this structure to build upon. So I began opening a new project in the Unity game engine, which is my main engine in making video games. I really didn't anticipate the player movement to be really difficult to make. However, I was proven wrong. It's really difficult to figure out where the finger is on the screen and then calculate the distance relative to the finger point and the location of the sphere in your scene. And relative to that, you have to figure out how much force you're going to give the sphere and in what direction. It's just basically math, but in code. So I read a lot of forums on the internet, a lot of documentation and really how to work with touchscreen inputs. But as you can see here, I finally managed to make it work. It wasn't perfect, it needed some polish, but I had a living concept, something that really works. Now, as you can see here, the velocity of the sphere still gets determined by a factor that goes up and down, uncontrollable by the player. At first, I thought this would give a timing kind of theme to the game, so that the player not only has to aim the sphere, but also release at the right time to get the velocity that the player desires. However, I discovered that it's more of a nuisance for the player to time it than an actual feature. So I decided to scrape that idea and just let the velocity be determined on how far the finger is away from the player. Now we're coming into our next issue here. I wanted to make an infinite level. Why infinite? Because it's easier for me as a programmer to generate an infinite level than to hand make a lot of levels. Now you, the viewer, may become confused at first because making an infinite level does sound harder than hand making a bunch of levels. If you don't have experience, that is. Luckily, I have a lot of programming experience, so I decided to take on the challenge to step out of my comfort zone and also make an infinite level. Now, the way I wanted to do this was we're not rendering an infinite level at once in its entirety, because not a single computer can render infinity because it's infinite. There's no ending to it. However, you have a little trick that you can apply by cutting up infinity in a lot of different segments, then shuffling those segments, and then rendering just one segment at a time and deleting the other segment, like the first segment that you begin with, and you delete that. So you basically have this thread mill kind of action going. Fresh segments get loaded in, and old segments get deleted. This way it will stay efficient so that even your phone can run an infinite level instead of a NASA supercomputer. Now, the second problem really came from me wanting to keep a vertical position of the phone during gameplay. I really don't like it when games force you to rotate your phone in this horizontal position, because everyone in the room can see that you're playing a little video game. It turned out that making a game where you shoot a sphere forward is highly inefficient with a vertical standing position. So I tried to work around this problem first by making a look button. The moment you press this button, the camera will shift forward to the right, giving you an insight of the level basically. But it came down to really guessing where the ball would land. Even though you could look forward, you really had no idea where you were going to shoot the ball. So I kind of tried to tune this feature, but in later iterations you can see that I completely removed it and just hopped to a horizontal field of view, because it just makes more sense for this kind of game. Now, the next thing I wanted to do was add in some graphics, because right now you're just hopping on cubes and spheres and toruses, so it didn't look appealing to me. I missed a lot of color, I missed a lot of texture, I missed some shape of the game. So I hopped into Blender and I created some lovely 3D models. I mean, they're not perfect, but it's a mobile game. So yeah, you can really see that I tried to make some pillars, make some platforms, make a pier, some background elements, stuff like that, but to really, give my game some life. I was thinking of this tropical theme. The background is heavily inspired on the Super Mario Bros. Games, but overall it's its own theme completely. I really tried to come up with it myself, but it's always inspired by some other game. The next thing that I wanted to add to my game was the shop, because I had these collectibles in my levels and the player could shoot through these toruses or hoops and collect a certain amount of coins, but they weren't really spendable. So I began working on this concept of a shop. I used Fire Alpaca, which is a graphic painting program basically. I made up some skins to wrap around the ball, so that the player really had something to spend their coins on and work towards to get some sort of satisfaction in playing the game. Now, I thought that the shop was going to be pretty easy, but I actually spent a lot more time on that than I first anticipated. It was just a lot of work. It wasn't really difficult, but for every item I had like 40 lines of code, and I had to alter them and edit them, and I wanted to keep the code really efficient, but it wasn't really possible. So I tried my best in making the shop work, but in the end it did work, and you can see here, which was the little demo that I first had. It was just like 3 different colors which you could select, but it looked like crap. I really wanted to make this professional feeling shop, so I redesigned the UI and really made the balls have a physical appearance, so you could see the spheres before you purchase them, and when you click them they make a little bounce up and down, just to give this sort of interactivity with the player, to give it's just polish basically. So with the game actually almost being finished, I had a working shop, I had a playable level, I had multiple skins, and it looked really polished in my eyes. The only thing left to do was making some sound effects, and I made them using Beatbox and Audacity, which is a audio editing software. Obviously. So for the jumping sound, I actually made the pitch go up or down based on how fast you will shoot your ball, to give a little more immersion to the game, so that the player really feels like there's some kick behind a shot or not enough kick behind a shot. I also wanted to add a little wave sound effect because the game takes place where there's water. And I did this really creatively. I mean, I think I did it creatively. I made a noise sound effect, which basic noise just already sounds a little bit like a wave, but I increased the volume and I decreased it. So it goes like shh, shh. And it just it really it sounded good. It sounded like a wave. That was the feel that I was going for. I mean, obviously you don't really see the waves because I was in a little bit of a time. It was a time-related issue, but the wave sound effect, I did that really good, I think. And other sound effects when collecting coins, when jumping, when hitting things, when dying, even. So yeah, that was really the final step in making my game polished and finished. So yeah, after all these sound effects, I basically just had a finished product. So I kind of want to wrap it up here. I'm going to show you guys some of the final gameplay of the game. And, you know, it may seem like everything went smooth sailing and that it was all very organized, but the process in making this was just a little messier than I first anticipated or thought that it would be. But overall, it was a fun learning experience. I know how to do a lot of more things now. It really challenged me to my full potential, I think, at mobile gaming, that is. I mean, I've never made a game like this before. And thank you all for watching and listening, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.